Hey, welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. This is John.
Ben.
Cobra.
And Friday the 13th is in 2 weeks. So we're going to review 4 of the movies. We're going to do Friday the 13th 1 and 2 today. And 3 and 4 on September 13th, which is a Friday, which is Friday the 13th. Yeah. We're not going to do all 12 because, fuck, that'll take forever.
And most of them are just too terrible to worry about.
We're going to get to them. We're just not going to get to them now.
That's my favorite series.
Yeah, watch it,
just
man.
for the record.
Easy.
I guess we have varying opinions on the Friday
It's
the 13th
the
series.
largest horror franchise, excuse me.
Kind of excited when he goes to New York when we get there. Holy shit. Not a good movie.
When he goes to space is amazing,
space
too.
is better, yeah. When he goes to hell, nah, not so much.
Yeah.
This first one came out in 1980. It was made in 79. But the idea came up from, this is all shit you probably all heard before, but the idea came up from Sean Cunningham. He did one horror movie before this with Wes Craven called Last House on the Left. Then he did a bunch of crappy kids movies about soccer, which were really shitty. And then he's like, I need to make some money. That's what he said. He said, I need to make some money. So he took out an ad in one of the newspapers in New York, and the ad just ran, Friday the 13th, the most unlucky day of the year. He had no story, no plot, no characters, nothing. He just got the copyright for the title. He worked from there. He worked with Victor Miller on the script, and he came up with sort of a story.
Well, really, it was kind of a rip-off of Halloween 1. I think that was generally the idea. They were trying to cash in on a franchise that had already
That's what people say, but...
Well, that's kind of what I think. I mean...
Because
you
it
have
was a slasher, or...?
No, I mean, the elements are very similar. You have anybody that fucks is killed soon thereafter.
Yeah, but in Halloween, doesn't Jamie Lee puff on marijuana in the car and not get killed?
Eventually, she does die.
Eventually, but not in that movie.
Now, in this movie, Alice smokes pot and lives. It's not necessarily the rule, but, I mean...
It's not, but I
the
think
thing
the
that
general
did
theme...
steal was that there are teenagers in a situation where there's no parents and something's killing them.
Right.
So, in a way, I guess it did kind of steal from that a little bit.
And a little bit from Psycho. She had to reverse
the difference is,
Norman Bates a little bit.
Right. The difference is, though, that this movie shows what it's doing. And I think that's what makes it so popular to people is the effects. And that's probably the highlight, the best part of this movie is the effects.
Yeah, if you're going to pick something to say about Friday the 13th that is good, it's not going to be the acting.
The acting is bad.
It's not going to be the plot.
But you should know that going into the
Even
Friday series.
I mean, not that Kevin Bacon's known for his acting, but I mean,
it's not going to be the actors either.
No.
It's not going to be really the one thing that I kind of liked about it were the effects. And I mean,
it's Tom
you're talking
Savini.
about, it's 1980, so you're not getting massive CGI, and he's not throwing machetes through your, but and as weird as it sounds, it's like I've never seen somebody have their throat cut with a knife.
But, it still looks realistic.
But I think, like, if I were to see that's kind of what it would look like. I think, what was the term you used? Practical effects?
Practical effects.
Yeah,
no
I mean,
CGI.
I mean, I think they did really well with that. And, I mean, I think that, I don't know, we'll have to edit that out.
The score was really good in it, too.
Harry Manfredini.
That's right. He is good.
Well, all they wanted to do was make the sound... There's a scene where Mrs. Voorhees is channeling Jason, I guess. But they wanted to have her say, kill mommy. And so they went, kih-ma. And then it eventually became chi-chi-cha. Yeah.
And everybody knows it, too.
Which,
That's
by the
what's
way,
so great
everyone
about
knows
it.
now.
Yeah. So... I guess we can kind of go over what this movie's about.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll kind of go through the plot a little bit, and then we'll just touch on some points.
Yeah, I mean,
so if there is a plot, and we'll just kind of go. Well, I mean, really, the first one actually has a plot. The rest of them don't.
The movie starts in 1958 or 60? Is it 58?
58.
Or is it 52?
He drowns in
50s.
57. Yeah, it's 58.
58.
And there's some teenagers singing a song around a campfire and
Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley.
yeah,
They do start singing
something
it.
about milk in the valley. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I just can't imagine people singing that song are going to sneak off to have sex.
Yeah,
I just can't
it's a
picture
turn
it.
on,
But
I guess. I don't know.
We're at Camp Crystal Lake in New Jersey. And,
We think it's New Jersey.
Well, yeah, we think we're not really sure. I thought it was
think
New
it
York.
is. I think it's New Jersey.
It's either New Jersey or New York.
It was filmed in New Jersey. I think it's in New Jersey.
And we're at a camp called Crystal Lake, later known as Forest Green.
That's much later.
Yeah, and you have some counselors around a fire. You don't really know that they're counselors yet, but that comes in later, and they're singing some songs.
No, they're not around a fire. They're in a
No, they're
room
around a
at that
fire. They're outside, and the two of them run off to a cabin to go have sex, and the one girl's like,
point. No, they're
"I
not
gotta
outside.
see
They're
you."
in a house.
I swear to God, they're outside. The moon's out. Shows the
No,
moon.
that's the second one.
Quit arguing. They're outside.
The first one, they're inside.
They're at the camp. They're at the camp. Fuck it. They're at the camp.
Well, you're
what's
gonna have to
important.
watch that and re-edit this, and you're gonna see that they're inside of the time.
Okay, let's just put it this way. They're at the camp. They're around a fire. They're inside. I'll pick one of those. I'll cut it out.
They were outside.
Okay.
And
I thought they were.
They
too.
go inside
You're fools.
to bang, and
Somebody sees them.
they're kind of getting busy.
We get a point of view cam.
Yeah, and that's we're gonna talk about the camera work here in a little bit. But the first thing we see is a first-person view of somebody stalking, and they're moving around and they're following these two lovebirds. And I shouldn't say that.
Oh, spoiler! No.
The stalker follows them up into a loft, and they notice them, and they say, "Oh, we're sorry, we weren't doing anything," and then they were both murdered.
Now the thing is, with the beginning scene, with the effects that are coming, you see those two kills. You're like, there's nothing to this movie. The one girl's killed off screen.
Yeah.
And then it pauses, and the title screen breaks through fake glass, which this whole series with its title screens is so stupid. They explode, they bust through
it's like
glass.
1980s 3D letters like shooting at you.
Alright, so we find out it's what, 19... The movie takes place in 79. It's released in 80, but it takes place in 79.
Which is when we meet
What is the name of that girl?
Annie.
Annie? Okay.
And Annie is just fodder. I mean, she's just there for you.
No! That's not true, Ben. It leads you to believe that she's the lead character. It does.
Yeah, but she turns out to be fodder.
She ends up being fodder, which is a good mislead. It stole from Psycho. It absolutely stole from Psycho, but she's supposed to be the you think that she's going to be the one who... And not
Yeah,
at all.
they kind of, it's kind of like that. You see it in a lot of other slashers, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not necessarily that as much, but you see it where, like, she kind of goes into town and everybody's like, real weird. And then you get that crazy guy on his bike,
You
Fred.
just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre a slasher. I'm a little behind. I'm sorry. It's not a slasher.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't. Somebody gets hit on the head with a hammer, and there's really no body count at all. We'll get to that later. We'll argue about that down the line. But yeah, there's Crazy Ralph, who's one of my favorite characters in the series.
And Ralph kind of does the usual thing that you get in a lot of these movies, where it's like,
They
don't
might
go
believe
down there.
They might believe him if he drove a car instead of rode a bike.
Yeah.
But
You can't trust anyone that rides a
No,
bike at the age of
absolutely not.
70.
So,
Here's what I have to say about Annie. As she's walking to the car with this old guy, he says, "I hope the rest of the girls at the camp as cute as you are." And as he's helping her in the truck, he grabs her ass.
Yeah.
He grabs her
I was
ass.
gonna tell you, he cops a feel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like what he was supposed to do, or if like on set he was just like, "Fuck it, I'm
He's
getting
just
this
like,
in."
well, these
Here we
movies
go.
didn't have the Screen Actors Guild behind them, so they pretty much probably could get away with shit like that.
He just put both hands on one on each cheek and just kind of hoists her up in the truck. She seemed to like it though, so even though
She didn't give a shit.
the
She
truck
didn't
driver was a
care,
little
yeah.
bit creepy. But.
And in the car ride, she insults him. That's a good
Calls
way.
him an
That's a
American
good way to
original.
get raped and murdered. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. He grabs your ass. You're insulting
That'd be
him. You don't
strangely
know
like,
him.
You're an American original, and he's like, "I'm gonna rape you."
Rape jokes are funny.
Yeah.
And then, so, they're going down the road. She's going to Crystal Lake. She's going to be a counselor there for the summer or whatever. That's where she's supposed to be. She has no idea how to get there, so she's getting a ride.
He
with
drops
this
her
guy.
off halfway there.
He drops her
Yeah,
off on the
halfway
road.
there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Leaves her to get picked up by a mysterious stranger.
So as she's walking, a mysterious green Jeep approaches.
It's Jason.
Yeah, it's the killer.
Yeah.
You guys are going to have to take over from here because I don't even remember.
Well, I think it skips around. I think
they're back at
Annie's-
camp.
They go to the camp. We meet Steve Christie. He's the guy who reopened the camp for God knows what fucking reason. Who knows why he needed to do that? But he's hitting on Alice pretty hard, talking about staying and like brushing her hair. and all
Yeah,
that
she's so
shit.
good at drawing too, complimenting her.
We meet Kevin Bacon and his goofy friend who's like the third wheel, and
Ned.
Ned, yeah.
Ned is obnoxious the whole way through
well, he
the
doesn't
movie.
make it very long. But,
Thank God.
Yeah. They get there, and Steve Christie's immediately like, help me get this tree out of the ground. And you're like, yeah, that's really fucking important to getting this place open, right? And then we have some bad cuts because Alice puts the bucket she's carrying down, then it cuts to the scene of her putting it down again. But
yeah, that happens a lot.
Well, when
a lot of
the
scenes like that.
the gutter's falling off. She puts one nail in and it's perfectly still, and then she moves to the right like 2 inches and puts another nail right beside that one, and the gutter's like flawless.
Oh, there's more problems. Like later on in the movie, they're going after that snake, and they all jump under the bed and they lift up the sheet, and then it cuts to under the bed and they lift up the sheet again.
Yeah, and I mean throughout the series, that's a prevalent thing.
There's a lot of problems.
There's a lot of problems. I mean, and I'm not trying to get too far ahead, but in Halloween 3, there's a scene where a black woman is scared.
Halloween 3?
Again, you don't even know what series you're talking about.
In Friday the 13th 3, there's a black woman that is skewered to a beam with a pitchfork, and she's never removed. She just sits up there for the entire movie, and then they go back up there again later, and she's just gone. She's not up there anymore.
Jason has a tendency. We're not even on a Jason movie yet. We're on his mom, but
yeah.
I'm just saying he has.
On.
I get it. He has a tendency to move his bodies for no reason all over the fucking place.
All over the place. You might open a door, there's a body.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Annie's in the Jeep with the POV cam because that's the killer. And if you see the POV cam, it's the killer. And she's talking to her, and they drive past Crystal Lake, and she's like, let me out, and she jumps out the side.
Hurts her leg,
so she's limping around.
Of course.
And whoever the killer is catches her, pushes her up against a tree, and slits her throat.
Well, before all that happens, before the actual kill, you get some interesting camera work as she's running through the woods. And it kind of annoyed me because you get two views. You get the first view is the first person of the killer, which is always in front of the person running. And the person in the camera view
that comes into play in the second one.
Yeah,
real bad.
And the person running, the camera view on them, instead of being from their back, like in a lot of slasher films, it's from their front as well. You're looking at their face as they run towards you. So the way it seems, at least to me, which is kind of weird, is that the killer is looking at the person and the person is running at them. And that's how it actually works out, because the people are always killed from the front, but they never see the killer until they're within about 6 inches from them, and then they have their throat cut. They never veer off or run in the opposite direction. They run right up to them, and then they just kind of cower and, oh no, and then they're disemboweled.
Sean Cunningham's camera work isn't very good.
No,
I mean, if you've seen Last House on the Left, and it's the same thing. It's anytime he's taking a freaking camera through the woods, it looks like shit. So, all right, so Annie's dead, and
before that though, did anyone listen to what Annie said to the killer in the car? She was talking about why she was going to the camp.
Something about kids.
Yeah, she said, this has been my dream for all these years.
Stupid. She's like
to work with children. Yeah, she's 17 years old, and she's going to be a cook at a camp for about 20 kids. Nice dream, lady.
Guess who the other cook was?
Oh!
The other camp cook, okay.
It was back in 58, I think. Or 7.
Well, we go back to the camp. They're all like, oh, the cook's not here. Then they talk about, it's just stupid banter. It's just dumb shit that they talk about. Like, the light bulb's broke. They're like, look, I know how to use the generator. Oh. Just nonsense. And then Steve Christie leaves him there to go somewhere. Where does he go? Just into town.
He doesn't. I don't even know what he's going to get. I forget what he even said.
He doesn't come back till a long time later.
No. Then they run into Ralph, who comes out of the closet.
Crazy Ralph, yeah.
He's just hanging out in the closet.
Crazy Ralph's, he somehow rode his bike the 20 miles to Crystal Lake from town, and he's just kind of creeping around. Nobody really knows why. But he's there.
Oh, we forgot this about the cop.
No, that's after.
That's
because Ralph makes it up first, and
he doesn't come out of the closet
until
the cop comes first.
We need to restart this.
No, I know how to handle this shit.
Okay.
The cop comes, and the one guy's running around in an Indian suit.
Ned.
Ned's running around
Obnoxious
in an
Ned.
Indian suit. But I love the cop. He's like, cool it, Tonto.
Yeah. You guys been smoking that grass?
Grass weed dope.
Hash. They make cops just to seem the dumbest people in these movies, which I
How
find
many
hilarious.
sheriffs does that fucking town have?
I have no
Every
idea.
year they have to get a new one because they fucking either die or do a terrible job. The cops know every year in the summer, between June and August, there's going to be 10 to 15 people dead.
That's right.
Do they do anything to stop it? No. Fuck it.
Staff up a little bit, and maybe you can take care of the
Jesus.
problem.
So yeah, he shows up, he tells him Crazy Ralph's running around, and that's when Ralph comes out of the closet later on, and he's like, "You're doomed if you stay," and then he just rides away like the fucking Wicked Witch.
He's
So,
a weirdo.
yeah,
There's
he
no doubt
is.
about it.
And then we get an exposition where Kevin Bacon's girlfriend is going on about a stupid dream that she had. Every
Or
movie-
rains blood on her or something.
Why
in
is
the
it that
shower.
every movie we see has a Quint-like scene that just is nowhere near Quint level?
Yeah, they're trying to like make this dramatic scene.
A monologue, and it's terrible.
And it works. It works if you're Quint because Quint's
That's the only
act.
time I've seen it work so
Yeah,
far.
but it doesn't work when you're some random 20-year-old
And it
that's
was
never
dripping
had a job.
blood, and it just washed away.
And-
What the fuck?
What are you talking about?
And Kevin Bacon just looks at her like, "Look, are we gonna have sex? I'd listen to it if we're gonna have sex. That's fine." So yeah, then there's fake lightning with the obvious, turning a light on and off. And they're like, "Ooh,
Yeah, the
looks like it's
lightning's
gonna
outstanding.
storm all the
That
way."
lightning is outstanding.
Typically, lightning is kind of has a bluish hue.
Yeah, and this
but
just looks
this
like somebody
lightning
turned
is
a
just
light
like
on.
red. It's like
Kevin Bacon's like, "Looks like it's gonna go all the way to the valley." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking
Yes,
about?"
what is he, a weatherman?
Oh. So they go to their room. We missed Ned seeing somebody in the cabin. Earlier, Ned saw somebody in a cabin and wandered up to it. Fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah, he's a worthless character.
Yeah,
he's
he's not
obnoxious
worth
the whole
having
time.
around.
and Ned. It's kind of weird because Ned dies off camera and you don't really see him again. At
You
least
see him
alive.
as dead
You see his
body.
body.
You see him.
later.
You see
Yeah.
him dead, but for whatever reason, I guess I don't know. They wanted some misdirection. I don't really know why, but they didn't show him die on camera, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I would assume if you're watching what you know is a slasher and you see him go into a cabin, you don't see him again, he's dead.
Well, yeah, you know he's
So,
dead,
yeah.
but I just don't know why they didn't show it.
So Kevin Bacon and his girlfriend are having sex, and then it flashes up and you see Ned's dead body. And then it goes to the other cabin where Brenda, Alice, and Bill
Bill,
are playing Strip Monopoly.
strip Monopoly.
Yeah, so Kevin Bacon and his lovely girlfriend are getting it on in the lower bunk, and you look up, and on the top bunk, and they didn't notice this, is the dead body of Ned, who has been skewered in some fashion, and he's just kind of laying there, and they're just kind of humping away.
And they also don't know somebody's under the bed. This whole bedroom scene is fucking
So this is kind of like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a sandwich situation
Yeah.
back on it, because the killer is under the bed and Ned is on the upper bunk. So they're doing their thing, Kevin Bacon and his woman.
The best part about this is his girlfriend never opens her eyes because Kevin Bacon is so ugly she doesn't have to
let
look
this
at
be
what she's
over. Let
doing.
this be over.
She wasn't enjoying it at all, and I don't blame her. Kevin Bacon
He's
looks
disgusting
like a pig. He looks like we were talking at work. He looks like that thing from the Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah, those creatures that make that hot lady try to look like them.
Yeah, there's
he
an
looks
episode
like
of the
them.
Twilight Zone. I'm not going to try to get too far off track, but there's an episode of the Twilight Zone where there's this really hot nurse, or she's not a hot nurse, she's just a hot woman in a hospital who is apparently disfigured, and you find out at the end of the episode that she is hot and everybody else is disfigured. And Kevin Bacon looks like those disfigured people. Like, that's actually what I thought when I first saw that.
Yeah, nobody ever hired him because he looked good. So they hired him because
And they didn't hire him because he could
don't
act
do
either.
anything. Yeah. All right, so after the Strip Monopoly game, the door blows open because there's a storm because it's a horror movie.
Of course.
And Brenda's like, "Oh, I left the window of my cabin open. I can't possibly come back and finish this game." So she walks all the way back to the cabin. Alice and Bill are by themselves. Kevin Bacon's girlfriend goes to the bathroom after they have sex, and fucking A.
He starts smoking
Kevin
a
Bacon
joint.
dies first, right?
Yeah, he
Oh
starts
man,
smoking a
I just
joint.
had a fucking. I'm like, well, how did she get? Not only did I thought that she left the bathroom, came back and slid under the bed, and Kevin Bacon's so high, he's just like whatever. No, Kevin Bacon gets the arrow through the throat.
Yeah, Kevin
From under
Bacon.
the
Kevin
bed.
Bacon is laying on his back in bed smoking a J, And as he's laying there,
blood drips on his head.
Blood drips on his head. He's kind of like, what the fuck is that? And then about a second later, a hairy arm reaches around and grasps his forehead as an arrow is drilled from beneath the bed up through his windpipe.
Right here, yeah.
Right kind of in the middle, above the sternum. So that's kind of the end of Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon didn't really have much.
No, he was in a Speedo, jumping in the water, having
He had
sex.
one line, that storm's gonna go all the way through the valley. That was his line.
Then he was dead.
Yeah.
But we're all thankful
Was this
for
Kevin
that.
Bacon's first movie?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
No. He was in Animal House, but he said, thank you,
Okay.
sir, may I have another.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, so we go to his girlfriend in the bathroom, and she's just doing normal shit that I assume women do in the bathroom, which is not use the bathroom. And,
Look in the mirror and fix hair.
By fix hair, just go, like, push her hair with
We
your
don't know
fingers.
anything about women. We're
We
all
don't.
just kind of pathetic. So.
No.
Which is why we watch horror movies and get together and talk about them.
Precisely. And she hears somebody in the bathroom stall, and she looks over, or in the showers. There's nobody there. Even if there was somebody in the shower, why are you ripping the curtains back? What the fuck is her problem?
Yeah.
But she rips the curtains back, turns around, and gets hit in the head with an axe.
Yeah, and that's it for her. She does not
I don't even know her
survive.
name, so I don't care.
Marcia?
Must have been. Marcy.
Yeah,
Marcy.
in the
Marcy.
names of these counselors, I mean...
It's tough to keep up with them because they
it's
die
really
so
hard.
quick.
And when you start watching all these movies together,
Oh, man, it's impossible.
I mean, every movie has...
You can remember the names of the people who live, and that's all you can remember.
Yeah.
They all have exactly the same plot. So it's like...
Basically.
You've got another 10 or so counselors in every... Or maybe like 6 or 7 counselors in every movie. So it's... Unless you've seen them a dozen times apiece, it's pretty difficult to keep them all separated.
All right, now we get to a nitpick of mine. Brenda's death. Excuse me. Brenda hears a child outside her window screaming for help. And she goes out to look to see where this kid is, wanders the whole way to the archery range, and dies off screen. Now, if Mrs. Voorhees' plight was that these counselors weren't paying attention to the children because they were busy with their own shit, Brenda came out in the middle of the night in the rain to find this kid. Obviously, she's trying to help children.
You just gave away the killer, though.
Oh shit, spoiler! But, why the fuck does she kill her?
Because she's killing them all. I mean,
She's
she
a
wants to get
teenage
back
girl.
at the counselors. You know, let's just
Okay,
forget...
she's getting back at counselors who weren't even born when her kid died.
She's crazy.
She's
We'll
not.
find that out much
I
later.
get it. I know she's good. It's just, that's why I say, when I say plot, I say loosely, plot. Like, not
yeah.
really. Okay, so Brenda's dead, and now, this is where the movie gets really fucking boring.
Alice and
You
Bill.
got Alice and Bill wandering around. They go look for everybody. Everybody's missing. They find a bloody axe in the bed. They're like, oh, it's a prank. Ooh. So they go to the place to turn the power back on or make a phone call.
They're
They
gonna
Make a phone call. Wait, I love it. The phones don't work, and then they actually have to cut a camera scene to see that the wires are actually snipped, as if you don't already know that.
Well, it was early on in the slasher thing, so people maybe were like, what's going on?
What's going on?
But, the power goes out, comes back on. A bunch of shit happens. It's really not worth talking about. Then, I believe Steve Christie starts to come back before Bill dies, right? Steve Christie's drinking coffee.
Yeah,
That's what
at the
fuck he's doing.
diner.
He's at a fucking diner.
He's at the diner.
He's at a diner and he's talking to the typical diner trucker slut kind of waitress.
Oh, she's like
God.
50 to 60, though.
What are you having tonight, honey?
She's like a troll.
Yeah.
She is. I thought it was a dude that played that woman. I don't know. She was gross.
And I thought maybe Bill Christie was going to live because he tipped her well, but
Steve Christie?
yeah, what did I say? Christie?
Bill.
Bill Christie.
Bill
sorry.
Cosby.
Bing Crosby.
I don't know, yeah.
How about Sidney Crosby?
Bing,
I
Bing
thought Sidney
Crosby's
Crosby was
kid's
gonna
in this
live.
fucking movie.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Which one is he?
I think he's Bill.
Oh, Bill. No,
So
not
it is Bill Cosby.
There is a Bill.
What the fuck?
There is a Bill, but
So is
Steve
it-
is Christie.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve Christie comes back. His
Bill's
car,
with Alice right now.
Yeah, his Jeep breaks down. The one cop shows up.
A
gives him-
different cop, though.
Again, gives him a ride halfway there. Leaves him to walk
Well, he
the
gets
rest of the
he gets a
way.
call
Yeah,
from
he
the
gets a-
station. There's something else going on. He just got to go attend to, so he drops Steve off.
Yeah. Damn kid's probably spray painting the sign or something. So
I think it's a car wreck.
Yeah.
Car wreck.
It was raining quite a bit.
Yeah,
That was what was going on.
So Steve Christie gets out, starts walking. He gets to the sign where his camp is, and he sees a flashlight. And he recognizes the person holding the flashlight, but then he gets stabbed. So
that kind of brings up something. Everybody knows who this killer is.
But we don't, because we never fucking see them.
But we don't know who it is. All we know is that they have a very hairy arm.
We have guesses.
That's all we know. They have a hairy arm.
Because of the bad cuts, we're like, it's a dude. So...
In the fact that, from the first-person camera view, this murderer is always looking down on their victim. So we're thinking about somebody who's at least 6'5", has a very hairy arm.
Fucking Andre the Giant.
And can just wield an axe like Paul Bunyan. So we're not really sure who we're dealing with yet. But we do know that these people know who this person is. So could it be one of the other counselors? I don't know. It's possible.
I never asked these questions when I was watching it. Like, I didn't know the first time that it wasn't Jason, but I was still like, I don't care. I just don't care.
You just want to see who it is by the end of it.
So, Bill leaves Alice behind to go check the generator. Alice wakes up from a nightmare.
And she starts making tea.
And makes tea.
And she's real shaky like Michael J. Fox. Like, the whole time she's like, all you can hear is the fucking...
Not very nice.
That's the second time we brought up Michael J. Fox on this fucking show. Second time.
Maybe he'll be our thing. Yeah. Maybe he'll be our thing.
But, she's just losing it for no reason, and then goes to look for him, and then that's when we get the typical, look, we've put bodies on doors and in trees and all kinds of shit for no reason.
Yeah,
It's like a fun house.
whoever killed these people, and we don't know who that is, but whoever did it has a penchant for carrying the bodies and just putting them in convenient locations.
How does she get fucking Bill on that door?
With the arrows?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't have that in my notes, though.
What's great about that is the actress who played Alice, whose name I don't remember.
Adrienne King.
Adrienne King. She hadn't seen the makeup work yet on that body. She didn't know where they put it or anything. She opens the door, and that's the first time she saw the makeup on him.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
Nice little factoid.
Yeah. This is all shit people know if they know Friday the 13th. So.
Well, we're hoping they don't know Friday the 13th.
I'm hoping they don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that. All right, you're cool.
Alice decides to grab a baseball bat instead of a nice fire extinguisher that has been there the whole time.
That's bugging the shit out of you, isn't it?
It is bugging me, because if you had a fire extinguisher and you freeze someone right in the face, they're going to be incapacitated for quite some time.
I don't think that's how it works.
What do you mean?
Freeze them in the face.
What do you mean? Well, I sprayed my roommate in college with a fire extinguisher.
I used one before.
And it didn't freeze them in the face.
God.
You didn't spray him in the face with power. It's coming out of there. I'm telling you. That's a much better way. You come at me with a baseball bat and I have a fire extinguisher, you're going to lose that battle.
But she's not worried about somebody coming at her with a... No, never mind.
Why did she grab the baseball bat then?
Here's a question. Why the hell does she lock herself in the cabin? She can't get out if the killer's in there.
In that little room?
But isn't that what...
And then she's breathing like a gorilla. Everyone's going to fucking hear you.
Yeah.
Isn't that what happens in every slasher, though?
Yeah.
Instead of, like, doing the smart thing and just running into the woods and not stopping, they, like, hide in a closet
Well, she makes another really stupid mistake
where there's, like,
later.
no escape.
But I'll get to that. But she goes into the kitchen, and they have the first of... How many are there, these movies? 12? She has the first of 12 people being thrown through a window near the climax of the movie. It's Brenda.
Yeah, and what did she do about it?
She goes, Brenda!
You know somebody, the bodies don't just fly through windows. You know somebody pushed that from the outside. Why are you not doing something about it?
Therein lies a problem, because somebody pushed her through the window, and then a Jeep drives up. So, Mrs. Voorhees, the killer, pushed her through the window, ran back to the Jeep, and then drove the Jeep back in. Like, what the fuck?
You know what was funny, too? Right after she killed Steve, I think it was by the Camp Crystal Lake sign, she was then at the cabins and like a second later, and I don't know where the sign is.
She also had time to tie Steve Christie upside down from a tree.
And he fell just at the right time.
Yeah, because she must have stepped in a booby trap that she had set up.
Yeah, it was just like...
Which would take hours to do.
Kind of reminded me, like you said earlier, like a fun house. It was kind of like one of those cheesy... And it's like something just falls down in front of you. Okay,
so then headlights pull up, and Alice is like, so she takes... because the movie needs to be an hour and a half, she takes like a whole minute to move all the shit out in front of the door, runs outside, and we see for the first time Betsy Palmer. And we don't know who the fuck she is, but if she's new, she must be the killer, right? I mean,
obviously.
it's so blatant.
Yeah, why would
obvious.
you just stroll up to the camp?
Yeah.
Betsy Palmer is a bit of an Amazon. In this movie.
She is a scary woman.
She is bigger than any of us three pathetic douchebags that sit here. And
You know why she did this movie? Before they auditioned for her car broke down, and she found out that she'd make about $700-800, and she's like, "Oh, good, that'll fix my car." That's literally why she took the part.
was it the Jeep?
And it was I think it
I
was
just can't see
guaranteed.
her as a Jeep person.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry.
I do. She's huge. What is she gonna drive? A bug?
And where's Mr. Voorhees? I
They
see she-
never delve into that. They
Never,
make
and she
attempts,
has a
but
wedding ring on, I'm pretty sure, on her left
They
finger.
make attempts. His name's Elias. They hint at him through the series, but they never really discuss him too much.
So we finally meet this woman, this mystery woman. We don't know who she is or what her part is.
Right away, she's like, "I'm Mrs. Voorhees," and you're like, "What the
Well,
fuck?"
what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know anything about Voorhees. And she kind of looks at the body. There's a body on the floor now. This is the same body that was thrown through the window.
Brenda's,
yeah. And she kind of looks at it like, "Oh, that sucks." Well, I'm going to tell you the story now.
Unrelated to
Yeah,
anything.
there's a dead body here, but we're not going to talk about that right now. I got something else I want to talk about. And she starts talking about her poor little son that died. And as she's going on through her story, she just becomes more and more psychotic. And then you realize, could this be it?
She's off her rocker at this
Could
point.
this be the killer? And you soon discover that it is the killer.
I hope somebody out there actually did think that. They're like, "I wonder if that's the killer."
I did.
The
the
fight
first time I-
scene.
Oh Jesus!
We're not getting to that yet.
We're way ahead.
Yeah, come on. We got a whole movie.
There's all that running that
We've
nothing
got
happens.
like a half hour still.
Oh Jesus!
And then one
No,
of these
they
movies,
start
it's like
fighting in the cabin.
They do. They fight. She runs at him.
And she bitch slaps the shit out of her.
Backhands are good.
Yeah.
One of the things about Mrs. Voorhees throughout this series, or I should say the sequence where she's battling with
Alice.
is that she's knocked unconscious about 4 times.
Yeah.
And she continually gets up and keeps
It
going.
just-
Like, Alice is getting the better end, which I don't understand, because every time Alice knocks her out, she just runs. Like, I would knock her out, and then I would get the closest bludgeoning object and just crush her skull.
She has a frying pan, knocks
Yeah.
her out.
And she just keeps
Well,
The
she
butt
is
of a
bleeding
gun,
at the
and
end
she
of
hits her
that,
with
yeah.
a gun too.
hits her with a gun in the box, hits her with, doesn't she? Hit her in the groin with a gun.
In a box.
I don't know.
Isn't it?
I don't know if it's in
thought
the
she-
groin.
I thought she did one
But
of
I
those
just
things.
thought she couldn't get the bullets in the gun, or she couldn't find them, and
Just
she
uses
knocked her down there.
Woman doesn't know how to use a gun.
That's right. But she knocks her down there. Why not just take a gun and just beat her in the head? You've got her down. Kill her now. No.
That was like, and I hate to do this, and I have to do it again. In Friday the 13th 3, there's a scene where I can't remember her name.
Maybe
I
you
think it's
should save
Chris.
this
Yeah,
one.
you're not gonna have
but
any. You're not gonna
I
have anything
to.
for next week.
No, I have to, because they do this because we have to look at this as a franchise more than just as individual movies.
I guess, yeah.
There's another scene.
This sets a template.
Yeah,
It is-
because and there's another scene where I think it's Chris. Yeah, it's Chris. She's upstairs in the loft of the barn where the black woman is not, who was just previously skewered with the pitchfork, and she knocks Jason Voorhees unconscious, and he's laying there with a machete sitting a foot away, and instead of picking that up and hacking his head off, she takes about 10 minutes to wrap a rope around his neck and push him out of the loft.
Yeah.
It was just like, come on, just fucking stab him. He's laying
She's
right
cruel,
there.
though. She's not like, "I want to get it over easy." She's like, "I want to hang."
Slow death.
Yeah. Well, Alice runs away, goes into the Jeep, which is a perfectly functional running Jeep with plenty of gas, I'm sure. But there's a dead body in it, so of course she's not going to try and take it to get away. She's going to run away from the Jeep.
Yeah, the dead body.
Annie.
The
Yeah, Annie's in there because apparently she's trying to find a tree to hang it from.
She couldn't. She didn't have to find a tree. She had it in there because she knew at some point
Yeah.
somebody was going to get in that Jeep and that body was going to prove its point, which it did because it scared her out of
Because
it.
she ran right away out of that Jeep.
Nonsense, yeah. So then we have a chase scene that goes on for a good, 15, 20 minutes. where
Yeah,
they go
it's
from
just
cabin to
The
cabin.
cabin.
Every time they get into one, Mrs. Voorhees has Alice trapped, and Alice hits her with something. And,
and then knocks her out.
and then it shows the moon, and then at one point, Mrs. Voorhees starts channeling Jason. She's like, "Get it, mommy!"
Yeah,
like, what the fuck
it's
is
weird.
going on?
And they keep showing her mouth, and it's not like she has gross teeth or anything, but
It's weird.
It's weird. It's
Yeah.
You don't want to look at it, and you're like, yeah.
Kind of want to look away.
And eventually, Alice is hiding in a pantry. Mrs. Voorhees has a machete and misses, even though she's killed every kid in that place. Alice is invincible, apparently. So Alice hits her with a frying pan and leaves, and she's bleeding a little bit out the head. And it looks like she might have got the final blow, so she wanders out to the shore where Mrs. Voorhees shows up again, and they just start fighting again.
Instead of doing anything, she just sits there like in a canoe. She's just sitting there.
She sits by the canoe, yeah, and then Mrs. Voorhees shows up, and they start having a cat fight. And
it's kind of the final duel. Mrs. Voorhees has that machete that becomes kind of the de jure weapon, for the rest of the series. And they have a little bit of a duel, and Alice manages to get the machete off of her.
She bites her.
Yeah, she bites her arm.
Bites her and then rolls away and grabs the machete.
And in slow-mo.
Yeah.
Hacks her head off.
Beautiful slow-mo.
Mrs. Voorhees at this point just stands still and goes,
"Ah!" And when the head comes off and you see the toothpicks that were holding the prosthetic head, you also see the hairy knuckles of a man as his body falls to the ground.
So let's talk about Mrs. Voorhees a little bit and what they did and how they screwed that up. Because first of all, she's a woman.
We think.
Yeah, well, we're not sure. So she's a woman with really hairy arms. She stands at about 6'4", I would say.
The reason that she has the hairy arms is because every time they do a shot without her head,
it's
a
guy.
It was the effects guy, yeah.
And
she's a linebacker.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
She's a big woman.
She reminded me of, like, I don't know, James Harrison. Maybe not James Harrison. More like Heath Miller. She's not. And I'm sorry about the Steelers.
She reminds you of a giant black man.
She's just huge. But she's still a woman. So I mean, I'm kind of trying to.
But she's a woman.
But she's a woman. But she's hot.
Yeah, she must have had super strength to put those bodies where
and that's
they
kind
were.
of thing. It's like, and we were talking at work at some point.
She's on PCP?
She was on something. That's for sure.
We were talking at work. It's like, if some woman walked up to me with a machete, I would just pull it out of her hand and smack her with it.
Beat the fuck out of her.
Like that would be the. I wouldn't be like, oh no. I would just be like, oh, let me have that, and just smack her on the side of the face and tell her to get in the kitchen. I mean,
that's wonderful.
That's nice.
I like where you went with that.
Why? She was the cook.
Oh,
nice reference. That's a nice reference.
I wasn't being chauvinistic or an asshole. I mean, that's where she literally works. I mean, I was just telling her to go back where she belongs.
Okay, so Alice, instead of leaving the camp, rows a canoe to the middle of the lake.
To the middle of the lake, another smart decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, once again...
The cops show up and
everyone's dead.
Why? Yeah, why were the cops there?
Why the cops there?
Well, everyone's dead.
Yeah, but nobody knows
cops
that.
Don't have sixth sense.
But I mean, look, can I talk?
No.
Can I talk?
No.
Can I talk? Everyone's dead. Instead of running or going for help, she decides, we're going to take a little boat ride. We're just going to get in this canoe and relax. We're going to take a little nap on the water. And she rows out. She's sitting there. And I think, did she fall asleep?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he comes until after the cops, right?
Yeah, she wakes up in the canoe and the cops are on the shore. And they're like yelling and she can barely hear them. And then she's like, dipping her fingers in the water and then, holy shit! Jason pops out of the water.
Who the fuck is that?
This mutated looking fucking thing comes out of the water, shoots out like a fucking torpedo, grabs her and drags her under the water. That scared the shit out of me the first time I saw that movie.
But is she dead?
Is she dead? She's dead. She's fucking dead.
I don't know.
Now, Part 3
Part 2.
Part 3 makes her look like some zombie, but I don't know what the fuck was going on with that movie.
Oh, with her jumping out.
Yeah, what the
Well, that was just
fuck?
a dream.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all dreams.
Why is she having a dream? Never mind, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But-
Who knows? Who the fuck knows?
If
So
it was
Alice-
1980 though, wouldn't Jason be like 35?
Jesus Christ! Don't do this to me.
He was
I don't
35.
know. It doesn't make
He was
any
old,
fucking
But he was
sense.
that little boy that came out and grabbed her, and if it was 1979,
Well, there's a theory. The whole fucking series is a bunch of theories, but this is the one that I accept. That was a dream. That was a dream.
Yeah,
That was a
that's what I
dream.
thought
Okay.
it was, yeah.
He is there. He never fucking drowned. He never drowned. He was retarded. He swam to shore and never went back to find his mom. So his mom then kills a bunch of people for not paying attention to her son and her son dying. Now all those people are dead for the wrong reasons. He never died. Okay?
which we'll find out.
And
part two.
that means with him running around avenging his mother's death, his mother was killing people for no fucking reason because your dumbass didn't make it back to the camp. You're like, I'm gonna live in the woods the rest of my life. Fucking moron.
That's a great decision at 12 years old.
Yeah, you're 12. You're fucking mentally handicapped. You shouldn't be making those fucking decisions. But yeah, I think at that point, if the movie took place in 79 and he died in 58, he was 21 at that time. That was just a dream. So he wakes up in the hospital.
So he drowned in 57 though. So you got to add like 12 or 13 more years on that. 'cause
I'm gonna
was
say
still
he
old.
didn't drown.
Well, then he
That's
would
what
have
I'm
been
saying.
35 in that sequence, around that. If
He
was
died in 57?
Yeah, and he was what? 12,
Oh,
13?
you're right. He'd be in his 30s. Well, either way, he's not a fucking kid.
No, it's iconic though. Everyone
It is.
remembers
It's
that
supposed
scene
to be a
from the
dream.
movie.
They ripped it off of Carrie when the hand comes out of the grave. But she wakes up in the hospital and she's like, "Did you find the boy?" And they're like, "There was no boy." And she's like, "Well, he's still
Well, then he's
How
still
dare
there.
or you were dreaming." That's a possibility too. So that's the end of the movie. So before we get into the second one.
Well, let's take some time. We're just going to kind of... We've touched on some stuff we wanted to talk about, but I guess we'll parse it over a little bit and just kind of decide how we felt about...
Yeah, well, what did you think of it?
Friday the
How
13th
did you
one.
feel about the first one?
I thought, I'm not a cinema person at all. I mean, I
And this
watched...
is your first time watching these, isn't it?
No, I've seen the first one actually a few times.
Okay.
The other ones I haven't seen. So I'll have to watch those as we go through. I mean, I've seen the first one. I've seen 4. I've seen 1 through 4.
Okay.
That's what I've seen. And I've seen Jason X and Freddy vs. Jason, but I don't really count those as the original.
Yeah.
I go from 1980 to 93 when Jason Goes to Hell, and that's kind of
when he was at Paramount.
yeah.
then he went to
And that's kind of
Lion.
like what I consider to be the original, in my limited knowledge. But I just, in terms of a slasher compared to other slasher films, I think that these fall woefully short in almost every way. I don't like them. The acting is horrible. The plot is
The acting in
unbelievable.
every slasher is horrible.
Not necessarily. I
What
don't
was
think
good
it's-
acting?
I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of your personal review here, but how many slashers have you seen besides Halloween? Like, how many have you seen? Have you seen Prowler? Have you seen Happy Birthday to Me, April Fool's Day, New Year's Evil?
All of them.
You've seen all of these. I've shown you a couple, I think.
I don't know. I just think that
This set the template.
Overall,
No, it
it's
didn't
not
set the
as
template.
good as Halloween,
It
but
didn't
it
set
is
the
a
template.
solid
Halloween 1
solid
set the
slasher.
template.
All right, go ahead and then we'll fight you afterwards. Go ahead.
I just think that this was a money-grabbing venture. I mean, that's really all it was. They were just trying to churn something out. They had no idea where the plot was going. They didn't have a plan long-term, which I don't think is even arguable. I mean, they killed him 4 times, and they had to bring him back. And then he kind of started out, like, in this movie, he's like a hermit mountain man who is not actually dead, I guess. He's alive, kind of.
He's not even in this movie.
Well, he's not in this movie, but I mean, like...
This movie, for being what it is, what do you think?
This movie being what it is, actually, this is the best one of all of them. Which maybe isn't saying a whole lot, but... I mean, this is the best one. But as they keep going and going and going, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And... I don't know. 3 out of 10.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, the acting is terrible.
All right.
The plot is unbelievable. The effects are good. I like the effects. But I mean, nothing else. Really, nothing else about this movie was original or.
It's less unbelievable than a 7-year-old killing his sister and being a psycho the rest of his life and breaking out of a mental home.
All right, Cobra, you go. You tell us what you think of this one.
This is my favorite series. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. I know the acting's terrible, but I knew that going in. It's a slasher movie.
So you give this. So what would you give
the
it?
Special effects are really good. Tom Savini. I love the score in it. Harry Manfredini. I love that you don't know who the killer is throughout the movie, and you don't find out until about the last 20 minutes of the movie.
I mean, that's kind of a good thing.
It makes you think, even though you really have no clue who it is when you find out. It's the first time you see her on screen. And it's what I grew up with. I'm a little older than the rest of you, and I grew up watching Jason. He is my favorite, even though it was his mother in the first one. It sparked the biggest horror franchise series. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
It's just for me, like, in like the way I want to do that, and like we're kind of new to this podcast thing, and like the way that I want to grade movies that we do. Is,
how entertained were you?
Yeah, it's
3
just
out of
like
10.
It's
That's
just like
a little low.
How entertained was I? And maybe it's just because I'm new to the older slashers.
It's okay.
And I'm just kind of like,
yeah, this isn't for everybody.
You know, I'm kind of new to the older slashers, and I'm kind of used to like newer movies, and I just kind of look at this like. Yeah, I knew everything that was going to happen before it happened, but you know that's also
for one of the first times.
Yeah, and this is from 1980, so maybe my viewing of it is biased a little bit, but I don't know. I just as I watched it, I was kind of bored, and I was just like, all right, let's get this over with.
Okay, for me, I kind of have to pick up both your points here. This movie kind of plodded along for a while. There were definitely parts of the movie that were drawn out. Those chase sequences. I love Friday the 13th, all of them. Even the really bad ones I enjoy for a good laugh. But this is the only one that I fast forward through. Because that chase sequence just fucking goes on forever. The effects are top notch. Any Tom Savini movie is. Prowler is probably his best work. This is up there. The part 4 that he did was really well done. The direction is just bad. Sean Cunningham's no good. He did start the greatest horror franchise in my opinion, but he sucks at what he does. And the biggest example to me, I know I've said this a million times to you guys, but when the writer, Victor Miller, asked him if he wanted to, somewhere in the movie, put Mrs. Voorhees, like at a bar, at the diner, at the thing at the beginning when she walks in to talk to those people, he's like, do you just want to put her somewhere in the background? And he goes, no, fuck it, let him guess. I mean, that's how I think they felt about the whole series. This was a cash grab. I mean, he admitted to it. It was a cash grab. He wanted to cash in on Halloween, but with better effects. That being said, I think it set the template. Oh, excuse me. I think it set the template. Well,
little squeak there.
Yeah, I think it set the template. It took Halloween's ideas, which were put teens alone by themselves, and then it was like, let's have creative kills, because Michael Myers just stabbed and choked. This movie has people getting like impaled to doors with arrows.
And you have to excuse us because like my favorite horror franchise is the Halloween, and theirs is Friday the 13th. So we always compare them and go back and forth. So we keep bringing up.
I'm not gonna give this an insanely high rating. I know a lot of people think highly of this one. In the 12 of them that there are, this ranks in the middle for me. Not having Jason kind of... I mean, in the 80s, you didn't know what the hell Jason was, but now it's 2013, so I don't care about history. I know who Jason is, and watching this old woman rampage through these kids is just kind of
Yeah.
So it does give the origin, but the origin is so stupid and convoluted that I don't care.
Right.
For the kills and the score, and for starting the series, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
No, I would agree on the score. I mean, anywhere you go, and if you go,
yeah, try walking down the street by yourself at night and doing
everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone. But, I mean, I just think, just as somebody kind of new to this genre, which I am, I just wasn't that crazy about it.
Yeah, it is what it is. It started the franchise, and they get better. They also get worse. So it's somewhere in the middle.